Hello ladies and gentlemen, Nick here and welcome to my review of Doctor Who Season 13, Story 5, The Brain of Morbius. Now, Season 13 is proving to be one of Doctor Who's best seasons, with the exception of With the exception of Planet of Evil, every story has been amazing this season so far. I mean, I have to rewatch Seeds of Doom, but I still think that's okay. This is pre-rewatch thoughts of that story. I think it's okay, a bit overrated, but still pretty good. I will get to what I think of the story properly in my review after rewatching the story. So, yeah, but apart from Planet of Evil, all of the rest are amazing. And this continues with Brain of Morbius. This time round I do have a few more personal issues with the first half of it, at least something similar to what I had with Genesis of the Daleks. The difference is these issues seem to disappear around the midway point, after the midway through episode 3 at least. And it's still a bloody amazing story. The plot sees the Doctor and Sarah Jane arrive on Karn, which new series fans may know, and they discover that they meet this Professor Solon, played by the magnificent Philip Maddock, in the first time as a guest, in his first guest role since 1969's The War Games, and in possibly his most iconic role, even more so than the War Chief. Or is it the War Chief? And he is just amazing as Solon. He is such a great character, both he's a villain, but he's an amazing villain, and he's an amazing character. He has some really great moments, and Maddock has some great character moments. Both, you can be really angry, you can be really apologetic, and he can be just plain normal, all in the spaces. And he's a bit of a narcissist, and also but also still worries a little bit at the time. He's a bit abusive towards his servants, but he still tries to still has some respect for some people, if only a little bit. And his devotion to Morbius is understandable. I mean, we don't get a huge amount about his backstory, but we do know that he was a former servant of Morbius, something that he tries to cover up early on as something that people try to discredit him as by making him a follower of Morbius. Who is Morbius? Morbius is a Time Lord, at one point the president, I believe, but he had a vision to create the universe in a different way, but it was sort of an evil vision, I suppose, and not many people were happy about it, and so after destroying lots of universes and worlds, Morbius was eventually captured and executed on Karn, witnessed by what's her name? She's one of the High Priest of the Sisterhood in the story. Is the character's name on here? No. Mara? Her name's down here somewhere below. And she witnesses Morbius's death, and she is now the High Priestess of the Sisterhood. Now, several years later, I don't know how long in the timeline, but Solon has come close to bringing Morbius back by using giving him a new body with different pieces whilst keeping his magnificent brain intact. Whilst the Time Lords have discovered this, so they've then sent the Doctor and Sarah down to stop this. But the Sisterhood are now worried that the Doctor, on behalf of the Time Lords, are going to steal the elixir of life. The elixir of life, I believe it was. Yeah, elixir of the sacred flame, and because the elixir is dying out, and there's not much of it left, and the elixir is the flames are dying. So they believe the Time Lords have come for what's needed, what's left over. At the same time, Solon wants the Doctor's head to be Morbius's. He believes it's the perfect specimen for the head. And yeah, so that's basically part of the plot. The Doctor is eventually able to help the sisters out with the flame, and also is able to get them on his side after the halfway point, after he tries to take some to fix Sarah's eyes, which were blinded by the High Priestess, but she reveals that it's actually fine, so the Doctor then just decides to get them on his side by helping them out. Well, he tries to leave, but he can't go anywhere, so... yeah. I mean, this part of the story is the one bit that annoys me personally. It's the sisterhoods just basically believing the Doctor is out to get their flame, trying to kill him, being a bit pissy at some points. They seem to be very arrogant. However, halfway through the story, they kind of go onto the Doctor's side, especially after he helps them. In the end, the High Priestess sacrifices herself for the flame instead of sacrificing someone else. Also, the second income, her successor, before becoming the successor, also convinces the High Priest to let her lead some of the sisters to stop Morbius and help the Doctor out. So, yeah, this is something that Planet of Evil should have done. The main character should have gone to the should have said, okay, we were dicks earlier, but now we trust you. They should have done it halfway through that story, but instead it was only a few people at the very end, and only because the professor in that story now as a werewolf was killing people. Here, much, much better. Well, half an episode better, but I know, as a story structure, it's not that much different, but personally I feel it's a much, much better. And I can see it works better as a store for the story this time round. So thank you, Robin Bland, aka Robert Holmes, and Terrance Dicks. Note that Robert Holmes doesn't actually write any story this season under his actual name. He partly uses a pseudonym after rewriting two scripts by other writers that didn't quite work, and using pseudonyms for that one. The other story was Pyramids of Mars. Well, you can tell he's got the talent. Robert Holmes is certainly in his peak of Doctor Who stories in the Philip Hinchcliffe era of the show, with these two pseudonym scripts. Ark in Space last season, and next 2 seasons he's writing 2 stories that are also regarded as classics, and yes, they are definitely classics. Next season's 2 Robert Holmes stories, they're probably the best 2 of that season. So, yeah. Kind of goes a bit downhill after that, though. We'll see. Performance-wise, whilst Tom Baker and Elizabeth Sladen continue to give amazing performances, the award for the best performance of a supporting character in this season goes to Philip Maddock as Solon. He is just amazing. Other great supporting actors, whilst the High Priestess and the second in command of High Sister, they do take a few episodes to get themselves into the roles, but I think by the end they've done great jobs. And Kondo, he's such a great character. He's dumb, he's brutish, but he's also really nice. And in some places, he's quite sweet as well. He's a bit like Lenny from Of Mice and Men, and he meets a sad ending. First of all, he gets shot by Solon, a little bit of blood in there, and then he sacrifices himself to save Sarah Jane from the mad Morbius creature, and sadly dies. So, yeah, but Kondu was a nice character, and the actor played him well. And Morbius, the guy, I feel sorry for the guy in that suit. It must have been really warm. This is a more set-based story, a bit like Planet of Evil, whilst the other stories went in for a bit more location work, especially in Android Invasion. That was very location-based, and Terror of the Zygons also had quite a few. Pyramids of Mars had a good couple as well. I think Seeds of Doom also has a few nice location works as well. But this one's a more studio-based one, and in all honesty, it's a really great worked studio-based one. Some great set design, especially in the castle. And as I was going back to that creature, it must have been warm inside that suit. So the actor did a great job there, especially with that goldfish bowl on the head. So meaning he'd have to, and when it was headless, he'd have to look out the neck, I suppose. Like, thankfully, it's a big enough body for him to look out the neck. So he'd be okay. And the voice of Morbius also really well done, and yeah, it's quite interesting how we've got all this mystery stuff going on, but you don't quite reveal what it is straight away. The first episode sets up the mystery, and the second episode has the mystery of what part of Morbius is left, and then it's revealed to be the brain in a nice way. It's really well done, really well handled. Who directed this? This was Christopher Barry, of course. Christopher Barry, one of the best early directors, directing loads of early episodes such as The Daleks, I think with Richard Madden, and he directed Robot. What else did it say he directed? He's done. It's in here somewhere, isn't it? Yeah, here we go. He even gets even gets his face in one of those in the mind bending scene. We'll talk about that. He's also did direct Power of the Daleks, the Daemons. Yeah, he's just and Robot. Yeah, so a great director. So yeah, and he does once again. It's possibly even his best work, directing wise, at least, or at least since the Daemons. At the any case, so got some great work here. Okay, it was Marin and as the High Priestess, and the second was Ochia. Okay, also have to say that the Planet of Khan also looks very well done, considering it's a studio-bound story. It manages to get all the sets looking really great. It does look very much like a desolate planet in a spaceship junkyard. An idea that was used again in 2011 with The Doctor's Wife. Another amazing story, may I add. And, yeah, Brain of Morbius. And finally, the mind-bending scene. Despite some of Sarah Jane's noises in the background, what is she supposed to be doing? Is she scared? Is she trying to help the Doctor with what he needs to do? She's just making noises for no reason. But besides that, it's still a great sequence where the Doctor mind bends Morbius, and we get to see the first 3 Doctors. So this will be Sarah Jane's first time she sees the first 2 Doctors beating the 5 Doctors by about, say, this is 75 to 76, 7 to 8 years, nearly 8 years. And yes, it beat and in her timeline it does beat the 5 Doctors, because that takes place after the events of K9 and Company for her, and for the 4th Doctor around the time of Shada. And yeah, so she gets to see the first 2 Doctors for the first time here. And also there are 8 other incarnations of the Doctor that we do not know about, or that's what was I believe that was what's supposed to be the idea. Some people have claimed it is Morbius, but in that case, Morbius went first and had another face. Mind you, it could be you could try and establish it to be Morbius instead of the Doctor now, after the rules set down by the Deadly Assassin in the next season, which claims Time Lords can only have 13 incarnations, and if the Doctor did have 8 lives before William Hartnell, that makes Peter Davison the final incarnation. And the case of Androzani completely said, nope, he is not the last incarnation. That's Matt Smith, following the inclusion of John Hurt and a second David Tennant incarnation, equaling Matt Smith to be the final incarnation before a new set of lives made him Peter Capaldi. And now, I don't know how many lives the Doctor's got. It could be infinite. It might just be another 13 lot. But point is, the 8 Morbius Doctors are now erased from existence, or were Morbius themselves. Another theory is that it could be because the Doctor is supposed to be the other, possibly loomed or reborn or something. So he's supposed to be the other. They are. It's suggested that they are the 8 faces of the other, and then the other loomed. I'm not quite sure what looming is. It's in the novel Longbarrow, but Time Lords loom. Apparently, that's how they're born, apart from the Doctor or the other, who then looms into the Doctor. But yeah, the theory is that they are the 8 faces of the other, basically, and the theory is that the other is born, has 8 faces, looms, and becomes the Doctor, and then you got all of the Doctor's incarnations, which is probably why they get so annoyed by the TV movie establishing the Doctor as half human. Again, that theory could be placed to the other, and then looming into the Doctor, who still retains human sides to him, such as the eye, for example, being half human. If you want to subscribe to that theory, that's absolutely fine. Personally, I think it's a good theory, but I also like the idea that it could be the Morbius doctors. And I'm fine with a born doctor. It could be like in Man of Steel, the doctor could be one of the rare births instead of looms, like in Man of Steel, where they weren't naturally born, except for Kal-El. I don't know how accurate to the Superman story that is, but the Doctor Who one, it's up for interpretation at the moment. It's not incredibly established as of yet, but I know a lot of people, especially older fans, would prefer the looms idea. So the Morbius Doctor thing is up for 8 faces are up for debate, whether they're Morbius's faces, whether they're earlier Doctors, whether they're the other. But yeah, it doesn't matter. I think the theory of it being earlier faces of the Doctor is pretty much swept to the side as soon as Colin Baker comes along, because 13 Doctors have gone by the time of Cases of Androzani, so yeah. So I think that theory is out the window, but please, by all means, play around with the other 2. So that's the Brain of Morbius. It's a great story, and it's just absolutely brilliant. It has some amazing stuff. And yeah, so I'm going to give the Brain of Morbius, despite some personal opinions earlier on, but which were moved to the side later, thankfully, I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10. That's 3 10 out of 10s in a row, and whilst this one is probably my least, I think they're getting weaker as we're going on, because Pyramids is currently my favourite, then it's Androids, and now it's probably this, but it's still a 10 out of 10, 3 in a row, and I think Tom Baker's era so far has got more 10 out of 10s than Patrick Troughton's. I think that's only got 3, I think it's only got 3, no 4, that's got 4. Patrick Troughton's here, Evil the Daleks, Tomb of the Cybermen, Enemy of the World, and The Mind Robber. Oh no, The Invasion's a 10. It's the same number as Patrick Troughton 10s. Did I give The War Games a 10 actually, or did I give that 9? Okay, but I wouldn't be surprised by the end of Tom Baker's era it would have beaten Patrick Troughton. It's definitely beaten William Hartnell. Hartnell only had 2 from me. Patrick Troughton, I think it's 4 or 5. Or maybe even 6. John Pertwee had 3. John Pertwee had 3, so... And currently, Tom Baker, in only 2 seasons, has had 5. Possibly more. He's definitely going to have at least 1 more. It's very probable he will have 1 or 2 more before then, but I can't promise anything. But yeah. But 5 10 out of 10s in 2 seasons out of 7... That's a record, and 3 in a row, and 4 out of 5 stories so far being amazing. Yeah, 4 out of 5 stories so far being all-time classics. Even though 1 9 out of 10, I still really enjoy that one. So I would say that's a classic. So yeah, Brain of Morbius, another amazing classic story. Right, the next story is The Seeds of Doom, which is also considered also highly considered as a very strong classic era story. And whilst personally at the moment, like I said earlier, I think it's a bit overrated. I don't think it's that amazing. However, I still like it. I think it's good, and the rewatch might make me love it more. Just look at what it did with Android Invasion. I said, I think that one's not going to be as great. Didn't have any problems with it. So yeah, that one got a 10 out of 10. So yeah, you never know, Seeds of Doom could be another 10 out of 10, or at least a 9 maybe a very high 8. Currently I put it as a 7, but by the time we get to the review it could be higher. Let's just hope it doesn't do a Planet of Evil and go and get worse. I really want Planet of Evil to be the only bad story. I didn't even want it to be bad, but that's what I don't like it, so there. But besides that, if Seeds of Doom if I do like Seeds of Doom, or at least more than I do now, then Season 13 could possibly be the best season of the classic era this far. Or at least, or the second best after Season 7. it's up for the debate between me. I'll have to discuss it with myself. Anyway, so that's it from me. Thank you for watching my review of the Brain of Morbius. Next time, the Seeds of Doom. And I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye. Don't forget to click below to subscribe to the official Nicholas Payne Retro YouTube channel. And his devotion to Morbi. I'm not going to get that sentence right unless I fucking burp. Performance-wise, whilst Tom Baker and Elizabeth Sladen continue to Performance-wise, whilst Tom Baker and Elizabeth Sladen and yeah. That's going to be nothing else. And I also have to say the Planet of but you know, that's if you want to support that theory. I don't mind that theory. What was that?